I'm building a dining room table for a client that has a round tapered leg and it fits into a rectangled stretcher. And I thought this was going to be the hard part. Nope, I got other issues to deal with first. Now before we get going on today's video, I want to thank the good folks over at Woodcraft for sponsoring today's episode. Woodcraft has the right people with the right tools to help you get the job done right. So this is the dining room table that I've designed, and the top calls for it being 44 inches wide, 96 inches long, 1.25 inches thick, and I wanted this out of birch. Now, I know I'm not going to get a slab of birch in those dimensions. I already know I'm going to have to glue up boards and put them together. And so for that, I'm going to KenCraft. For over 15 years, I've been going to the folks over there at KenCraft for all my domestic and exotic woods. And you can shop there too. Just go to their website, order it online, and they'll ship it right to your door. So when I went to KenCraft, I wanted to get 6/4, or material that's 1.5 inches thick. Because I know at this length, I'm going to have some boards that are going to have some twist and wind in them. And I figure that extra 1/4 inch, well, I can take that out and get them perfectly flat. However, Tracy at KenCraft didn't have any in stock, but he could order some for me. So I gave him how much I needed, and within a week or so, I had it in my shop. Now, I started planing the boards down, and they were looking really good. And I let them sit for a couple of days. And then when I came back to them, well, I got a major issue. A lot of them bowed, and they bowed bad. I mean, over 1/2 inch they bowed. So my first thought was, well, how can I make this work? Well, I thought I could alter them. If one is bowing down, well, I'll have the other one bow up. I'd put them together, put a floating tenon and some mortises in it, and I was hoping that would try and pull the two back into something that was relatively straight. But then when I started to alter them, on the other side, I didn't care for the pattern of the grain that I was seeing. There was some knots and there's some discoloration from the mineral streaks in it. So that option was out. I didn't have time to order more because this project has to be done for Christmas. So I had to come up with a solution, and I think I did. Now, not every board was bowed. So what I figured I'd do, I'd build a frame. So this was my thought with the frame. I could have on the outside here, I could use that material that's 1.25 inches. And then on the inside of the frame, well, this could be 3/4. That way, when people looked from the side, it would give the impression that it was 1.25 inches thick all the way through. And I also thought too, oh wow, wouldn't it be cool that if the frame was actually mitered on the ends? I thought that would give it a nice little detail, but I realized I can't do that. The boards on this are running this direction, and that means they're going to expand and contract in seasonal changes in width-wise, and that then would open up my gaps. So I'm going to have to run them straight and make this a traditional breadboard end. So it seems like I pretty much have my solution fixed on how to make this top, but believe it or not, this breadboard poses some more issues. So a breadboard goes the opposite direction as the other boards. And I've seen people where they've put these on the end and then they'll take like a long screw or a lag bolt, countersink it, drill that in, and then plug the end of the hole there. And that'll give them the look they want, but that's not the purpose of a breadboard. A breadboard is supposed to help keep these boards flat so any cupping or twisting, it doesn't happen. And there's a couple of ways that this can be done. All right, here's one example. So I could run a groove on the breadboard, and then on the planks, I would put the tongue. Now, this is a sample board. The tongue would actually be on the end grain of the boards. But you could see how this would go together, and that tongue and groove would help keep these boards flat, and also it would allow for that seasonal expansion that can happen. So that's a good option, but here's why I'm not going with that. So back to my model again, you can see that the edge here sticks out 12 inches. That's quite a bit. And my concern is that people are going to put a lot of pressure on this, or heaven forbid, they sit on it, and I think that tongue and groove will break. Let me show you where the weakness of that joint is. So where a tongue and groove joint typically fails is right down in here, right at the corner of the tongue against this shoulder. Now, although we're building a tabletop, the tongue would not be on the edge grain, it would be on the end grain, which would make it very strong. So the joint will fail right here. It'll crack all the way down this, and then the breadboard will simply fall off. So here's what I plan to do. I'm going to make tenons on it and mortise into the breadboard. This gives us a lot more meat in between each tenon, making it strong so it won't crack. Now, I also have to be concerned still with wood movement, so what that means is when I make the mortise on the breadboard, the center tenon can be quite tight. However, on the end ones, I want to make that mortise wider than the tenon. That's going to allow this to expand and contract. Now, to add one more complication to it, my table, we've decided, is not going to be a rectangle. I actually want this to have a slight curve on it. And you can see that's going to interfere with it. So what that means is I'm going to have to make tenons at different lengths to make this happen. Okay, that's where I'm at with the table so far. I'm sure that's just one of many challenges I'm going to face on building this dining room table. Now, in my last episode, I mentioned that I wasn't sure if I was going to be filming this table or not, and so many of you put in the comments, yes, please film the making of that dining room table. So I will be doing that. But I can tell you right now, it's going to be a super long video. So I have another question for you all. We can do it one of three ways. I can do it either A, the video where it's fast and you see me build and I just briefly mention what steps I'm doing. 2, I could show you the full long version of it. I guarantee it's going to be well over an hour. I can guarantee that, with all the points in it. Or 3, I'm kind of leaning towards 3, where I just pull out maybe some unique information, kind of like what we did today, showed you some of the either techniques or some of the problems and then the challenges and the fixes for it. So let me know, give me one of 3 thoughts down there below on what you'd like to see. Please, please don't ask for all 3 of them. Come on, I just wouldn't have time to do it. So let me know. I certainly do enjoy your comments and your thoughts on it. So as always, my whole job is to make you a better woodworker. So until next time, keep on dancing.